Have you ever had a glass of milk and then spent the rest of the day just feeling off? Yeah, you were definitely not alone. So today we're going to get to the bottom of why milk can cause so much digestive drama and explore some of the best alternatives out there for a happier gut.
You know that feeling, right? The bloating, the gas, the cramping after you have a little bit of dairy, it's incredibly common. So what is actually going on in there?
For years, the go-to answer has always been lactose intolerance, and it sounds pretty straightforward. Your body just doesn't have enough of an enzyme called lactase to break down lactose, which is the sugar in milk. And for a lot of people, that's where the investigation just stops.
Okay, but here's where things get really interesting. For a huge number of people, it's not just about the sugar. The problem is way more complex. It could actually be about the proteins in milk, or even some sneaky additives hiding in those supposedly healthy alternatives.
So, let's dive in. We're going to play detective here and investigate 3 potential troublemakers behind your milk issues. And honestly, understanding all 3 is the real key to figuring out what's going to work for you.
So here they are, our 3 main suspects. First, you've got lactose, the well-known sugar. Then there's the A1 protein, a potential source of inflammation that a lot of people have never even heard of. And finally, the hidden additives, those sneaky agitators that can pop up in both dairy and non-dairy options.
All right, first up, the classic culprit. Lactose intolerance is pretty simple. Your body just can't digest milk sugar properly. And when that undigested sugar hits your gut, it starts to ferment. And that leads to all those uncomfortable symptoms that, well, nobody loves.
Now for culprit number 2. In this is fascinating. Most of the milk you buy in the store contains a protein called A1 beta-casein. When you digest it, it can release this inflammatory little thing called a BCM7 peptide, which has been linked to gut discomfort. But, and this is the cool part, A2 milk, which comes from specific breeds of cows, doesn't release that peptide. Its protein structure is actually a lot more like human breast milk, which can make it way easier for some of us to digest.
This is a total game changer. Think about it. What you've been calling lactose intolerance this whole time might not be about sugar at all. It could actually be your body reacting to the A1 protein. This explains why some people can drink lactose-free milk and still feel bloated and uncomfortable.
So you figure, okay, I'll just switch to plant milk to be safe, right? Well, not so fast. To get that creamy texture and make it last forever on the shelf, a lot of plant-based milks are loaded with additives. Thickeners like guar gum can be really tough for our guts to handle, leading to more gas. And carrageenan, which is super common, has even been linked in some studies to gut inflammation. Okay, so now that we know the culprits, let's start talking about solutions. And you might be surprised where we're going to look first, because we're heading right back to the dairy aisle.
This really breaks it down nicely. You've got lactose-free milk, which tackles the sugar problem by just adding that lactase enzyme in for you. Then you've got A2 milk, which gets around the protein issue by using cows that don't produce that inflammatory peptide. And then there's this really fascinating third option that kind of addresses both problems at once. Yeah, camel milk. It's starting to get a lot of attention as a kind of gut health powerhouse. It's naturally lower in lactose, it doesn't have that A1 protein that's common in cow's milk, and it's packed with these unique anti-inflammatory compounds and prebiotics, which are basically food for your good gut bacteria. It's like a multi-tool for your digestive system.
All right, let's head out of the dairy section and into the sometimes overwhelming world of plant-based milks. The aisle seems to get bigger every year, and finding the right one is all about knowing what to look for.
$3 billion. That's how massive the plant-based milk industry is, and it's still growing like crazy. We've got so much choice now, from almond and oat to pea and hemp. But, all that choice can also lead to a lot of confusion.
And that's the catch. While there are some fantastic plant-based milks out there, so many of the popular brands are just packed with those gut-irritating additives we talked about. The trick is to look past the pretty marketing on the front and become an expert at reading that little ingredient list on the back.
Another huge thing to look out for is nutrition. I mean, look at the difference here. If you're hoping for a protein-packed alternative, not all plant milks are created equal, not even close. Pea-based milk and soy milk are absolute powerhouses, with protein levels right up there with dairy. But then you look at a lot of popular nut milks, like almond, and yeah, there's barely any protein in there.
So, which ones are worth checking out? Well, pea milk is a fantastic high-protein option, especially if you have allergies. Fortified soy milk is probably the closest nutritional match to cow's milk you can get. For really sensitive guts, almond and hemp milks are great low FODMAP choices, meaning they're low in certain sugars that can cause digestive issues.
And while everybody loves oat milk for its creaminess, you might want to watch your portion size if you have IBS.
Look, with all this information, the goal isn't to tell you that there's one single best milk out there. The goal is to empower you. We're giving you a toolkit so you can become your own milk detective and find the perfect match for your body.
Here's your mission, and it's super simple. 1. Just look at the front. Know your base ingredient. Is it oat, soy, A2 dairy? 2. Flip it over and read the back. Scan for those additives, look for a short ingredient list, and check for important nutrients like calcium and vitamin D. And 3, and this is the most important one, listen to your gut. Pay attention to how you feel. Your body will tell you what works.
Ultimately, this is the golden rule. It doesn't matter if it's dairy or plant-based, the best options will almost always have a simple, clean ingredient list with stuff you can actually recognize. And if you are replacing dairy, just make sure it's fortified so you're not missing out on those essential vitamins and minerals.
So we'll leave you with this thought. The world of milk is changing faster than ever. We're seeing crazy innovations like real dairy protein being made without any cows, while ancient alternatives like camel milk are making a huge comeback. It really makes you wonder, what is the milk aisle even going to look like in the future? Thanks for joining us.